Hello, Ritam.
Closed borders split families.
It's literally more than a year. We are stuck in India and we are far away from our dear ones.
Neha was one of 46 Australians bumped off last week's India repatriation flight after testing positive for COVID. She didn't believe it and got her own test, which gave the opposite result.
I retested on 15th of May and my RT-PCR results are negative. I don't have any symptoms also. So I feel really very helpless.
She's not the only one. 11 people who tested positive have since received negative results. The government's investigating, but is not yet conceding there's been a bungle.
We're always reviewing the process, but what this process has done is it has prevented cases coming to Australia.
Scott Morrison needs to take responsibility for something.
Travel easier for some jetting in today. Australian cricketers who escaped India for the Maldives, straight into hotel quarantine. This system isn't changing anytime soon. Last week's budget assumes the international border will remain closed for at least another year.
The key thing is the overall border arrangements, they remain in place until it's safe to do anything different.
But some coalition backbenchers and businesses are increasingly impatient and want the government to set some firm markers. Today, the New South Wales Premier gave her own hard figure, saying she'd back a reopening when 5 million residents in her state had been vaccinated.
I'd like to see that happen sooner than the middle of next year, and that depends on how many doses we get and how quickly we can vaccinate our population. But I do think we should be ambitious.
Australian voters have consistently rewarded leaders who are tough on borders during this pandemic, and Scott Morrison seems confident he's on firm political ground. But that dynamic might change if more Australians with family members stuck overseas start to lose patience. One thing the India repatriation effort does demonstrate is that bringing them home will be long and difficult work. Stephen Jedgetts, ABC News, Canberra.
Let's go now to South Asia correspondent James Oaten, who joins us from Delhi. James, how are Australians stranded in India feeling now?
Well, many who missed out on last week's repatriation flight have been left bewildered. They'd been taking plenty of precautions, isolating at home for weeks. Some had negative tests done just before the flight, and some have got negative tests since hotel quarantine. This includes myself. I tested positive in this pre-flight hotel quarantine, and my report said I had what was a low viral load detection, or detected, I should say. And really, I've been, like others, at home for weeks, reporting from home in Delhi. And alarm bells started to ring because a lot of people also had this low viral load detection on their report. I've now collected 21 COVID reports that were done in that quarantine, and epidemiologists that are all low viral load, and epidemiologists say that should be raising red flags. That's a lot of people who are fitting within this very narrow band. Since then, I've got 10 reports that are negative, myself included, that arrived last night. Considering that this lab had its accreditation suspended last month, there is concern about what has happened, and they want authorities to investigate, while those who are trying to get on upcoming flights just really want this whole mess sorted.
I think they definitely need to look at the lab that they're using and make a decision, is that the best one to use. I think they need to investigate claims of people that have gone and gotten negative tests a couple of days later.
What happens now for the next flight, which is due out Friday?
Well, anyone who tested positive during the quarantine period for the last flight, they can't get on a Qantas flight for at least 2 weeks, even if they have a negative test. That's currently how it stands. Obviously, many of them do want a second chance if they do have a negative report to try and get on a flight. For everyone else who's trying to get on future flights, well, they'll be checking their emails and checking their phones, hoping that they get an invitation to get a ticket and try and get back to Australia.
James Oaten reporting from Delhi.